would have one office and I would put all the phones in where the clerks are going to go. Then I would have another office with hot boxes. A hot box was a jumper, like in other words, so you call, I give you the number, you call up the number went to an empty apartment with a hot box. The hot box sent the call to where the office was. So when if the cops got the lines, got the numbers, and traced the phones, they went to the empty apartment because they went to the apartment where the hot box was. So you had to get a hot box. They used to call them. So it was a whole procedure to be a bookmaker, and that's what we had to do. That's what we did. I never went to that length, but I most of the time I was a runner. But the bookmakers were really big. They were all around my father. My father got monthly envelopes off them. Like he had really big bookmakers. And this guy, Ronnie Stone, this guy, Ronnie Cigars, who I went to prison with for bookmaking. But we'll get into that. So he always had big book, Blaze Carrazza. He always had a big book guys with big sports offices, like really big money making sports offices. So I always had sheets with them. I always was a runner for them. And, I made money, did I gamble personally? Yeah, I always gamble. I love, I went to the racetrack. I was a big racetrack guy because I grew up in Aqueduct Racetrack. So I was in the racetrack every day. I used to walk there when I was a kid. My grandfather used to take me there. So I always bet horses, and I love to bet sports. I never really had a big, I wasn't like a degenerate gambler. You know what I mean? Sometimes I gambled a little over my head. But I wasn't, I wouldn't say I was a problem gambler. No, but I do. I like to go to the casinos. I worked in crap games, when I was a teenager, street games, but big games like $300 limit games where people lost 30, 40, 50,000 in cash. Guys used to come there with shopping bags full of money and, with 40,000 in cash and lose it on a crap table. That was it was a pool table, and they used to make it into a crap table. Put the borders on, they had connections. Back then, the mob, it was such a different world than it is today. They had a crew of carpenters, right, that worked for the 5 families of the mob. These guys were legitimate union carpenters, and what they did, and it was the same guys, they did it for every family. What they did was they built traps. Now, what's a trap, right? You want to know what a trap is, right? So a trap is a hiding place where if my house gets raided, the cops are never going to find that trap. That's what a trap is. There's a trap built right now in my old house on 88th Street. I guarantee you that the people that bought that house from my mother, if my mother didn't show them where that trap was, they don't even know. I could walk in that house right now and go to that trap, and they'll be in shock that that's in that house. That's how it is. And they would go and they would build traps, and the trap was where we hid the money. So we would have a crap game, right? And they would build a trap. And now this is their life. Like if we get robbed, and the thieves know where that trap is, these carpenters are going to get killed because nobody knows where the trap is except the carpenter and us. So either if we didn't rob ourselves, then you had to tell somebody where the trap was. So these guys were putting up their life. They got paid good money to build the trap. They built one in my house on 88th Street, and they would go around and they would build traps and crap games and all these houses. And that's where, so in the crap game, we would hide the bankroll in the trap and take it out as we needed it. And so, it was a lot of things, a lot of people worked, bookmakers, you had clerks, you had pickup men, you had, the runners, like we would meet, like my Ronnie Cigars, the guy I went to prison with, he had runners that were in Manhattan. He had runners in every borough, but so like his runners in Manhattan. So every Thursday night, him and I would go to stores